Hello. So it is Sunday, which is time for another weekly wrap up. I'm a little sick. I did just get out of the shower, so that I'm hoping helps some of the decongesting. But I did read 8 books this past week, which is pretty good, especially considering it's NaNoWriMo, and also some of these books were pretty big, or pretty dense, or both. So first up, the first book I finished this past week is, all of them are falling down. Oh dear God. Get you over there. There we go. The first book I finished this past week is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. This is Donna Tartt's second book, and it's the one that is the least beloved out of her books. Everybody loves The Secret History. Everybody loves The Goldfinch. Nobody talks about The Little Friend. And I think that's because The Little Friend is so much different from her other books. Now, I haven't read The Goldfinch yet. I've read The Secret History twice. But from what I've seen about The Goldfinch and The Secret History do have some similar vibes in terms of very kind of academia, very pretentious. And this is not pretentious at all. Like, there are some very wealthy children in this book, but they're about 11 and they're not very pretentious. This is about a little girl who, when she was just a baby, her older brother, who was 9 years old, was murdered. He was found hanging from a tree in the front lawn. And as she's 12, she decides that she wants to solve this murder, and she already knows who it is. It's an 8-year-old. It's a kid who was 8 years old at this time. It's just the absolute surety that this child has. My God. I also read this book very close to when I read Harriet the Spy, and the main character in this book's name is also Harriet, and Harriet the Spy are like the same person. So they mix together in my head quite a bit. They even have a male friend who they just kind of bully a lot. So this is about that. There's drugs, there's snakes, there's all sorts of stuff. It takes place, I believe, in like Mississippi. Yeah, it takes place in Mississippi. It's very kind of southern, everything is terrible and everyone's on meth kind of stuff. I really enjoyed it. I thought, obviously it's very different from The Secret History, and I don't think I liked it as much as I liked The Secret History, but it's very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot going on, and that was pretty fun. I ended up giving it, I think, 5 out of 5 stars. It was a good time, and I am excited to read the last of Donna Tartt's books that I have not yet read, which is The Goldfinch. So after that, I read Boy Toy by Barry Lyga, which is not what I was expecting it to be at all. So Boy Toy is about this senior in high school, and he is troubled. He gets in fights. He's very smart, but he's very he doesn't get along very well with authority. And about 15 pages in, you learn that this is because when he was in middle school, he was molested by his female social studies teacher. And it is very, very graphic. And this is, if you've read the book Tampa by Allison Nutting, this is that book, but from the victim's point of view. And the thing with Barry Lyga is that what he loves to do is write books with main characters who are very, very good at something. Whether that, in this case, it's math. He's so good at math and baseball. He's very, very good at these very specific things, but they have the emotional intelligence of a dead badger. Like, this kid is straight dumb when it comes to how he's perceiving his relationships with other people. It's insane. But it was very well written. It was very well done. I think there are times where Lyga does go very in detail. He goes very in detail. He goes very in depth, and it's hard to read sometimes. It is. And yeah, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was definitely something. I do think that none of the synopses, none of it prepares you for what you're about to read. I think that's maybe not for the best. I think maybe they should prepare you a little bit, like, oh yeah, this is about that. Because it is, I did not realize it until I went and looked at the Goodreads reviews, and I was like, oh my gosh. So the Goodreads reviews will prepare you, but the synopsis does not. 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read a book with my 5th graders, a group of my 5th graders, my high achieving group, that is War Stories by Gordon Korman. I've read a couple books by Gordon Korman. He's been putting out books since I was, younger. I remember reading, what did I read when I was a kid? The Swindle. First couple Swindle books. This is about a kid whose great-grandfather was in World War II, and he just completely looks up to him and really glorifies World War II, and then they learned about the horrors of war. It was decent. It was a good show. It's a good time. Gordon Korman is a very solid, you know, upper children's, lower middle grade author. And then I read First and Then by Emma Mills, which is a young adult contemporary romance about this girl who's in love with her best friend who plays on the football team, and her cousin just came to live with them because he had family issues, and her cousin's a little dork, and then her cousin ends up joining the football team, and she falls in love with somebody else. And Emma Mills is so consistently good at young adult contemporaries. Like, she's just like top of the line. Like, this is where the bar should be for young adult contemporary. She's so goddamn good. This is their third book of hers that I've read, and she's just consistently, they're just good. And I'm not a young adult contemporary person. Like, I'm not a romance person. I've been trying to dip my feet more into the genre, but I just never have really been into romance. But Emma Mills is great. I think that if you've got a teen girl in your life who desperately wants to read Colleen Hoover, just bat those out of her hand and give her Emma Mills instead. Both because, just because, A, it's much better written than Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover just sucks in general. But yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. After that, it was a reread. It was a manga. Not doing good things for my voice right now. Spy Family Volume 1. I am going to continue on with this series now. I only read the first volume before. Now I do own the second volume. I watched the first couple episodes of anime. Basically, this is about this spy. And he, for his new mission, he needs to procure a child, a school-age child, and a wife. And he ends up, through hilarious circumstances, he ends up with a telepathic child and a wife who is an assassin. And so the wife and the husband, like, they don't know about each other's situation, and they don't know that their kid is a telepath, but their kid knows everything that's going on because she's a telepath, and it's hilarious constantly. I mean, this is just a great series. It's kind of taken everything by storm. It's very popular, and it's for a good reason. Art style's cute. I'm excited to continue on. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. After that, I read The Dead Lifeguard by Arnold Stine, which is a Fear Street book. This is about this group of lifeguards, and they just start dying off, and it turns out everybody always dies at this place. And I'm gonna say, I guessed one of the twists, except for I didn't really. I don't think there's a possible way to guess any of these twists because they're just so off the wall insane, and I loved it. It's so fun. It's so fun. This is R.L. Stine at his fucking best with these off the wall twists, everything. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Such a fun time. Consistently hilarious. And then I read The Lady's Paradise by Emile Zola, which is a part of his Rougon Mokar cycle. This is, I think, book 11. But you don't have to read these in order. I'm not anyway. I've read 2 other books by Zola. I read Germinal and I read Therese Raquin. And this is about this block in Paris. And there's this large superstore basically taking over the entire block. Think like a Walmart situation. And it's driving all of these smaller businesses out of business. And it follows this girl, Denise, who she comes to Paris with her 2 younger brothers. And her uncle is one of the people who's being driven out of business, but she can't find a job anywhere. So she ends up going and working at the superstore. And the guy who owns it falls in love with her. And it's such a good book. You would not think that a book from the 18th century, no, not the 18th century, a book from the 19th century about a shopping center would be so goddamn engrossing. But each of the chapters is about 30 pages long, and I just, like, I would open the book, I would finish a chapter, I would look up, it's like it's been 20 minutes, and I'm like, I've just been so wrapped up in this world and these characters. Zola is one of the best goddamn writers that's ever lived. I'm not, like, Therese Raquin is probably my least favorite of his books. Germinal is my favorite. This one kind of fits right in the middle. But even, like, Therese Raquin was an earlier work, and you can tell it's a little bit shorter than this one in Germinal, because both this one and Germinal are about 400 pages long, and it's just like you just sink your teeth into it. It's so good. Zola is fantastic. Like, I am just so excited to read more of his books. Like, he's got like 14 or 15 in this like cycle, and I'm just like super pumped. And I'm hoping, I don't know anything about any other books. I'm hoping that one of them is about Jean or something. We learn more about Jean because Jean is her little brother, her older little brother. He's like 16 at the start of the book, and he just consistently gets in problems with women all the time. And I want to know more about him because I feel like there's more there that we just don't learn in this one, because Denise is focused on like keeping her brothers alive, and she's like, my idiot brother, I just keep giving him money, and I know I shouldn't, but he gets so sad. We've got to learn more about Jean at some point. I'm not gonna lie. And also, if there's anybody named Jean or anything similar to that in a Zola novel, they're trouble. Automatically trouble. But yeah, I'm excited to read more by Zola. I'm very happy to read this. 5 out of 5 stars. And then the last book I read is a little bit of a downer, actually. It's Saint Iggy by Kale Going, and I've only read her children's books, so I thought that this was for children, but then the first chapter, he called his teacher a bitch, and I was like, oh, maybe not. This is about this kid. He's a 16-year-old high school freshman, and his mom's run off, his dad's constantly high and laying on the couch, and he spends his time basically distracting his dad's drug dealer and going and hanging out with this guy who dropped out of law school. And at the beginning of the book, he gets suspended from school, and there's going to be a disciplinary hearing, and they might kick him out for good, and he just doesn't know what to do with his life. And he thinks, like, deep down, like, he's really a good kid, but he just doesn't know how to deal with stuff because of the whole poverty thing. And this book was so heartbreaking, like, from beginning to end. And there was, like, a little hope spot in the middle, but even with that, it's like his friend who dropped out of law school is from a very wealthy family, and you can tell that he just has no idea what he's talking about ever. And you can tell, and Iggy knows too that his friend has no idea what he's talking about, because his friend will be like, oh, you're so lucky, you can grow up with expectations and stuff. And Iggy's like, there's literally no food in my house. Like, it's like, you can talk all, and I'm sure, you know, obviously, yeah, people who grew up wealthy have problems too, and there are definitely issues with wealthy families and feeling like they have to be a certain way, which is bullshit. But it's like Maslow, you know, like, let's get some food and non-stoned parents first, you know, like it's the whole thing. It was very good, you know. Her other book that I've read is I wonder if there's a list in the front here. I forget what it's called. There's not, goddammit. But it's a book about this kid. It's a children's book about this kid who growing up in the South during, like, the 70s, I want to say, and his best friend is a little black girl, and there's a lot of racism stuff in there. And she consistently writes stuff that is, like, very hard-hitting, and this is definitely no exception. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a good time, but, like, deeply depressing if we're in a lot. So these are the books I read this past week. That is all for today. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.